Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're unpacking a really incredible excerpt from one of the greatest ancient epics out there, the Mahabharata. We're zooming in on section 93. Now this section details a super high-stakes journey taken by the hero Yudhishthira and his brothers. And let me tell you, this isn't just some casual ancient road trip. It's this deep, almost paradoxical mix of intense physical danger combined with the absolute highest spiritual aspirations. So let's just dive right into the text and look at how this adventure unfolds. Right off the bat, the text hits us with the terrifying reality of this ancient world. The Brahmanas, these are ascetic priests who live out in the woods, describe the path to these sacred sites as being literally surrounded by dangers and difficult of access. I mean, we're not talking about a peaceful hike through nature here. The deep woods were just swarming with deadly beasts, not to mention supernatural beings known as Rakshasas. Basically, setting out on a spiritual quest back then meant putting your actual physical life on the line.
And that intense physical danger leads us straight into our first major conflict, the call for protection, or the Brahmanas' plea.
So these Brahmanas are in a pretty tough spot. They come to Yudhishthira because they know he's gearing up for a pilgrimage with his powerful brothers and the famous Rishi Lomasa. Now the Brahmanas desperately want the spiritual rewards of this trip, the cleansing of sins and getting to those heavenly regions earned by ancient kings. But they're completely vulnerable. The path is basically impossible for small groups because those Rakshasas specifically go out of their way to ruin ascetic penances. So they tell Yudhishthira, hey, your brothers are the bravest archers around. They're flat out asking the Pandavas to be their armed escorts. It really shows how, in this world, chasing spiritual enlightenment actually required some serious physical muscle just to survive. So where exactly is this incredibly dangerous trek headed? Let's look at the sacred tirthas, the destinations of cleansing. Well, first we need to understand what a tirtha actually is. The text defines tirthas as these profoundly sacred pilgrimage spots. It specifically calls out places like Parvata, the Mahendra Hills, the mighty Ganga River, and areas marked by these massive plaksha trees. But you have to remember, these aren't just pretty tourist destinations. They're highly functional spiritual sites. The belief was that taking a bath in these specific waters, especially under the guidance of a sage like Lomasa, literally washes away all of a person's accumulated sins. And the payoff for pulling this off? It's huge. The Brahmanas remind Yudhishthira that by bathing in these tirthas, you unlock regions that are incredibly hard to reach. We're talking about exclusive spiritual realms that were previously earned only by legendary imperial kings. Figures like Kartavirya, Ashtaka, Lomapada, and the Great Bharata. So they aren't just going on a retreat to feel refreshed. They're trying to lock in an eternal, highly exalted status. Naturally, after hearing this, Yudhishthira is all in. With tears of joy, he agrees to help them. But before anyone actually packs their bags, they have to go through some serious philosophical prep work. This brings us to earthly versus spiritual vows, preparing the mind and body. Right as they're getting ready, three absolute heavyweights of ancient wisdom show up at Kamyaka. The blessed sages Vyasa, Parvata, and Narada. Yudhishthira respectfully welcomes them, and in return, these guys deliver a total masterclass on what a pilgrimage really takes. They warn the heroes that just walking the physical path, that's not going to cut it. And this right here is the philosophical core of our explainer today. The sages lay out this brilliant dichotomy. On one side, you've got earthly vows. This is all about regulating your physical body. The fasting, the endless walking, the raw physical endurance. But then, on the flip side, you have spiritual vows, and this is way harder. This is the active effort to purify your heart so that your mind is completely free from any evil thoughts. The sages are basically saying, look, going through the physical motions of a pilgrimage is completely pointless if you're still lugging around darkness or resentment in your heart. They distill the whole thing down to this one beautifully piercing quote. O king, the mind that is free from all evil thoughts is highly pure. The directive is crystal clear. Before you even take a single step on the road, you've got to banish the negativity. You need to harbor friendly feelings toward everyone. Yes, you have to push your body through the earthly vows, but you've got to simultaneously cleanse your mind with spiritual vows if you actually want this pilgrimage to work. So, armed with that profound guidance, we finally get to the paradoxical departure, where our holy warriors set out. You can see their preparation is just incredibly meticulous. Step 1. The Pandavas and Krishna perform their usual propitiatory ceremonies to make sure they have divine favor on their side. Step 2, they show their deep respect by worshipping the feet of both celestial and human rishis, including Lomasa and Narada.
And then step 3 is this massive exercise in patience. They literally just wait for the absolute perfect astronomical moment, the day following the full moon of Agrahayana, specifically when the constellation Pushya was ascendant. For them, ritually speaking, timing was literally everything. Now picture what they looked like when they finally stepped outside. The text says they were dressed in barks and hides and with matted locks on their heads. So visually, they've taken on this ultimate posture of humility. They look exactly like forest hermits who have completely renounced the material world. But, and this is where the imagery gets so cool, right under those tree barks and animal hides, the very next line tells us they were cased in impenetrable mail and armed with swords. These guys are dressed as humble monks, but they are simultaneously loaded down with quivers, arrows, scimitars, you name it. It's the ultimate paradox of the holy warrior, right? Their minds are pure, harboring friendly feelings for all, but they are armed to the teeth and ready to take down any beast or Rakshasa that messes with their sacred journey. And, by the way, this wasn't just a handful of guys wandering into the woods. This was a massive operation. They rolled out with 15 cars. And just to clarify, in these ancient texts, a car means a heavy horse-drawn chariot, not like a fleet of minivans. They had attendants with them, like Indrasena, plus an entire staff of cooks and servants. So this was a huge, highly organized, heavily armed, yet totally spiritually focused expedition. Finally, with pure minds, heavy armor, ascetic vows, and their massive entourage all in place, this epic procession officially kicks off. As the text triumphantly puts it, they are setting out with faces turned towards the east. They march right into the dangerous unknown, perfectly blending the highest level of spiritual discipline with a raw readiness for mortal combat. And that wraps up our explainer of this incredible text. But I want to leave you with a quick thought before we go. The Mahabharata might be an ancient epic, but the advice from those sages, that is totally timeless. They knew that physical actions and inner purity are two entirely different battles. So, when you're facing a tough challenge in your own life, how do you balance your earthly preparations, the logistics, the hard work, the armor, with your spiritual vows, keeping your mind free from negativity and being kind to others? It's definitely something to chew on as you navigate your own daily journeys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and keep learning.